Hello friends, it's Simone. I would like to share a quick unboxing and share of one of my newer pens. Yeah, it's after the San Francisco pen show and I bought another pen. I purchased from Vanessa. I really like that face and I wanted to show you. And also it looks like it's written with fountain pen, which I very much appreciate. Came in this box, very well secured. I bought 3 ink samples and you can also see a pen. This is not what is inside the box. It's almost what's inside the box. But I'm going to show you. So I went to the San Francisco pen show with the idea to buy one more Estie, but none of the ones that were at the show were really convincing me. I was thinking about getting the newest one that they introduced at the show, Punch, but it just did not grab me. I really enjoy depth in color, and that just didn't live up to that expectation, and so I decided to pass it up. But I did go and look at all the different colors of Esties that they had, and this one totally stood out to me. I really love the dark, rich colors of this Scarlet. And so when I got home and I got a payout of some budget money, I placed my order with Hobonichi and with Vanessa. Originally, I had thought I wanted to buy bottles of the document inks from DeAtramentis, and that's the second thing that I'm going to show you later, but then I decided to go with samples so that I wouldn't end up with a color that I didn't particularly like. And I also don't really know if the idea that I have is going to work out. But let's look at the pen first. So this looks like it might have been sitting with Vanessa for quite some time, because this is not the same paperwork that I have gotten with other Esties. However, I don't really care because this is the main piece of the show and I really like it. What I love about this finish is that it is so smooth. Let me show it to you a bit better. Let's put this away so we can look at it even better. I like that there is so many different shades of red in here. The blue, I don't even know if the blue was necessary. Well, it might just, like, you know, hint towards purple. Yeah, I really like it. Let's look at the section. Because it is not completely opaque, it is translucent, and that always makes the section look like it's darker. And that's because the nib, oh, don't tell me that this one also doesn't unscrew. So I don't really know how to unscrew a section that is, or a nib unit that is kind of stuck in here. Yes, the tip is to screw here, but if this doesn't come out, then how exactly am I not also putting pressure and like doing something to this whole nib unit? I wanted to take this out because I wanted to put my, there we go. Okay. So now let's look at the grip section without a nib inside. It looks very much close or similar in color to the rest of the barrel. If I put this in here, it gets darker because, as I said, it is a tiny bit translucent. Not a lot, but enough to make this look darker than the rest. Maybe that's just my imagination. Let me know what you think. Look at the pearly finish of some of these things. Yeah. So the other pen the other SD that I would really add to my collection still hasn't added is, of course, the honeycomb. Is it honeycomb? Yeah, that's, I think, the name. The reason why I purchased this pen, or why I added this to my collection, is because I do have 2 Esterbrook specialty nibs now. And I would love to keep them on the pens that they're on right now. And so I kind of don't have a regular plain old nib with this, or no pen that can hold a regular plain old rounded tip nib. I do have other nibs, fine and broad, that I could put on here, but I really plan on using these pens a lot, and so I would love to have. That's the reason why. And I just wanted it, you know, like sometimes you just want things. It does come with a converter, and there is a black cartridge included here. I don't remember what the other pens came with, but I don't generally tend to use cartridges, so the converter is perfectly fine for me. I really like this color. It's so saturated. I don't know. No, it's not. I was going to say, if you're a seasonal person, this definitely works for fall, but I also think it works really well for the winter time. I feel like it looks like, this actually looks like punch, like, you know, red wine punch with seasoning. In German, we say Glühwein. That's what this reminds me of. So I'm not going to ink this up, but I want to test it for you. Let's make a tight hole with my trusty old, not so old, but my trusty TWSBI Mini. And then I can swatch this. Okay. And yes, I am filming this way early. Actually, September 2023. I will share this with you in October, but just for my own bookkeeping. If you need comparisons of these SDs with other pens in similar sizes, please check out the honeycomb video that I shared when I was able to borrow that pen from my friend Sarah of Ginger Peachy Pens. And also check out the unboxing of the Sea Glass, where I was able to compare the Sea Glass with the Monte Grappa Elmo. All right, this is, okay, this is not ideal. This feels very scratchy right off the bat. So this is definitely not a great nib. Maybe it's because I unscrewed it. Let's just try and see what happens if I just press down a bit. So if I'm going, maybe I can zoom you in later. So if I'm going down, let's listen. It feels like there is a, oh yeah, can you see this? Looking from here, but the question is, did I do this when I unscrewed the nib section? Probably. I am really hesitant to use micromesh and tune any of my pens now that I have watched this one specific video, and I also learned a little bit, I listened to the retelling of Kristen's experience at the nib and nib grinding and nib tuning. This is probably also not the right thing to do, but I was hoping that I would be able to get it back into the way. Nope. so weird. It's like, oh, you can actually see it. Let me check if I can show it to you. See how this medium, this tine is all the way up here? And you can see it also down here. I need to work on that for sure. This is definitely not a nib that I would use right out of the box. It makes a really weird sound. And I'm not saying that every time a nib makes a sound, something is wrong with it, but it might be an indication. And definitely look at how weird this writes. So, yep, that would be definitely a disappointment if this was one, if I spent money on it. And probably, like, to be honest, it was probably me when I unscrewed the section, or the nib, but that's okay, because I do have, not these two, but I do have quite the selection of nibs that I could put in here that I haven't ruined with my pressure, the pressure that I put on this, and see how the, I'm just going to put another nib in here then. And I do really want to use the nib that I would love to use in this pen is the nib that I had ground by, see, there's another medium nib from Esterbrook by Kirk Spear of Penral. And I had put that nib onto the, in 30 Inks 30 Days, I had put this nib onto the Gravitas pocket pen in Delrin, and the grip section was quite slippery, and since I didn't get used to this nib right away, I do need to figure out how to really make best use of this. I want to put this on here for now and see how I write with this, with a pen that I know that I enjoy using and that I can have a good writing experience with. So that was basically the main reason why I purchased this pen now and not waited longer. And yes, even though this sounds like a very unsatisfying unboxing, it actually isn't for me. So please be aware that I had planned to remove the nib anyway. And so I might just try and see with instructions from friends to see if I can fix this myself. And if not, I will just take this nib next time I'm going to a pen show, or maybe I'll send it to someone and get this nib tuned and repaired so I can use it if I so wish. I do have quite the collection of medium Jowo nibs, so this is not necessarily something that I want to do right now. Hello there, I'm back. I was ready to remove the nib and put it away, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, and it felt really weird putting it away without even trying to fix it. So that's what I did. I chatted on Discord with my friends, and one of them seems to be really knowledgeable about working with your nibs, tuning them, repairing them. And so he told me what I should be doing. I tried that. That worked to an extent, but then I decided I would use this cutting mat as a tool to help me get the tines back in alignment. And the way I did that was I pushed down this way so that they would open up a tiny bit more, and then I like very, very slightly turned the nib back and forth like this, and especially in the direction where I knew that the tine was below the other one, so that it would come up. And then I turned it around, and then whatever I opened up, I pushed back down together, and by pushing on the nib right here, I was able to you can see this right here. I was able to bring the tines back together, and also because I have an even surface, and if I'm pushing, hopefully, in a straight manner, then they're coming at the same height. That fixed it almost completely. It was still, one was still a little bit higher than the other. So what I did was I slid in my brass shims here, and again, I turned the nib so that, because this is metal, it doesn't break, but it ever so slightly moves one tine up and the other down. And so I helped that tine to get on the same level as the other one. And that's all I did. I tried in between. I tried writing with the nib. Oops, I shouldn't do that because that's not the greatest thing. And I think I'm okay now. Let me show you. Can you hear the difference? Esther. So I did this because I know that it was me who basically broke the nib. I didn't break it. It was fixable and nothing came apart. But this was something that I did when I was trying to unscrew the section. If you buy a pen and you test it out and it looks the way that I showed to you earlier, and it feels the way that I showed to you earlier, the best thing for you to do is reach out to the retailer you purchased it from and say something is wrong. Maybe you can send along some close-up shots of the nib because you suspect that something is wrong. That's also an easy way to check if something is wrong, and then they should make it right. This should never be your first step when you purchase a pen, because the expectation is that you can write with a fountain pen out of the box, or at least that is mine, and that is what I expect from a retailer and a pen manufacturer for sure. This was my fault, so I tried to fix it myself. I'm repeating myself now, but I wanted to come back and just update you on this because I think it's important for you to know that everything's okay. All right, goodbye. All right, I just love this color though, and that's the reason why I bought it. So these 3 inks I have purchased for an experiment that I don't have all the supplies just yet. I hope I am sharing my TWSBI sob story video I've been talking about for months now. It is filmed. It should be edited before you see this video. But my idea is, so I am journaling in my, now this is a lot to pick out, in my weekly journal, which I haven't filled in this past week. I am using black permanent ink. I like sketching and coloring in. And I love using platinum carbon black ink. The problem with platinum carbon black is that it is very, very high maintenance, and it does discolor, stain the nibs here. Even when I clean them with an ultrasonic cleaner, sometimes I just cannot get the black color off. And I have heard from many people that this is not the case with the DeAtramentis document inks. So my thought was, I do have 2 pens from TWSBI that are basically left over. Now I'm wondering, do I have feeds though? Or do I not have... this experiment might end right now. I have one feed, but where do I get the second one? There's another one. So I do have 2 feeds. Yes, exactly. So what I did in May or so was I removed the nibs from the TWSBIs because many of the sections were cracked, and put them on empty sections of TWSBI minis. So I was able to purchase them. I will link those in the description box below. These sections without nibs. And so I put the spare TWSBI Eco and obviously swipe nibs on here. So I do have a variety of nibs that I can put onto my TWSBI minis. I can just swap out the section, and then this one has a reverse architect, this one is a medium, I have a fine, I have a broad, and this one is an extra fine. So I have those. I purchased the sections without nibs. I removed the nibs from my TWSBI Ecos, and now I do have 2 pens that do not have nibs. And my experiment idea was to, first of all, clean this one out. That's why there is 3 inks. I want to purchase a number 5 Nemosine nibs from... I'm irritated by the blueness of this, but I could just scrub this down a little bit. From Birmingham Pen Co. and fit them on here. I don't 100% know if that is going to work, but I have watched a Goulet video where they shared that their number 5 Jovo nibs, Goulet nibs, would fit on the TWSBI Eco. So since the Nemosine nibs are also Jovo nibs, if I'm not mistaken, they should be the same shape. And if the Goulet nibs fit on the Eco, then those nibs should fit on here as well. I don't have them yet. So, but the idea is to have 3 pens with 2 with extra fine nibs, 1 with the reverse architect nib, and try these 3 inks in those pens and try using them in my weekly journal to see, first of all, how they work with watercolor and all that. And if in my imagination right now, I think I would really like to maybe use brown and a black blue that almost looks like black, just to change things up a bit throughout. And since these are spare and I don't really plan on using them for anything else, this would be really cool if they could be permanently inked with those inks. So instead of buying ink bottles, I decided to buy the samples so that I can test that theory out first, and so that I can see if I like that. And if I do, I might end up purchasing all 3 of them or just 1 of them, or I will try out other colors. I saw one that says black red and a black green that are quite intriguing as well. So now let me grab this here so I can put those right up in here, and then I will sample those on here so that we can get an idea of the color. And then when I do all of my swatching videos, which I hopefully will have in October, November, December, whatever, how long it takes. I do have so many samples right now. I will include them in my actual swatch book, and I will share more about them then. Let's, have you seen, oh yeah, I have it right here. Here it is. So if you have both platinum carbon black, see, I really like this. I can see myself using this in my journal. Okay, this is, wow. I did not expect this. I hope, well, can't even talk anymore. Black, is this black blue? I hope this is not, like, if I put this in an extra fine nib and it's gushing out, then it's really hard to use it for such fine writing as I do in this journal here. Like, I find I really enjoy the really very, very, very fine nibs in here. And so, we'll see. That's actually, I'm really glad. I had them in my cart for a week as bottles. The black is currently sold out on Vanessa as I'm filming this, because this is coming out so much later. You might check for yourself and see if it's still out of stock. But I did have a black and a black, blue, and a brown in my cart, and I was convinced for days that I was going to just get the bottles because they are amazing. But yeah, if the writing, if they just gush out of the pen and they obscure the nib width, then maybe that's not going to happen. Okay, this is definitely warm and it leans red, which I like. Let me just get some of the ink off here. See, well, it's still very wet. Actually, I don't see a difference at all. And this is brown. Yeah, I will have to test those in pens instead of judging them right now. This might just be me not having used this pen for a while, this dip pen. And I really love this pen, to be, oh, I love it. It dries around the edges. I can see a little bit of bluish tint, gray maybe even. I do love platinum carbon black. I love that it is wet. The lines are fine. I like how it dries. I like that I can use it. It makes many of my pens, when they are really dry, it made them quite wet. Okay, this leans green. Oh, can you see how different that is? So these are definitely differently wet. And I want to see one more thing. Let me grab one ink that I want to swatch on here, just as a comparison. And then I have to go get groceries today. And if you see my watch and the actual date, you know how far ahead of time I'm actually filming this. So this is platinum carbon black. Some people do not like the way that this ink dries shiny. Am I going to put this below? I want to put it right next to it, actually. Okay. Can you see? I'm impressed. I didn't know how. I know that this is a wet ink, so judging by the width of the nib with carbon black, if they are behaving very similarly, I should not have problems in the extra fine nibs, but we will figure that out when we get there. I like this ink more than I had anticipated, and I like this ink less because it dries not as saturated as I was hoping for. This is dark. It's not as black as this ink. So if you need black, then the carbon black is definitely the way to go. However, as I said, this dries very shiny. I personally like that, but if you don't, then you need to stay away from this ink. And especially if you do not want to dedicate a pen to... Oh, I'm thinking about something and I'm not finishing my sentence. So if you do not want to dedicate a pen to platinum carbon black, I am basically sacrificing the pristine look of the nib of this pen and just live with the fact that there might be blacks. It looks like black dried on residue, lacquer or something. Then you should not use this ink. And definitely this pen needs to be cleaned regularly. I don't clean it as regularly as many people say, but I tend to clean it every other month. Just rinse it out, make sure that nothing is dried up inside the feed. I use an ultrasonic cleaner now, so that helps. But then when I'm done with cleaning this, there is still some, as I said, lacquer residue on there. So this has dried and you can see what I'm talking about, but this actually also, it does not look as shiny as this, but it doesn't also not look shiny. This is my favorite right now. Okay. Have you used any of the DeAtramentis document inks? Especially have you used the black green or green black and the black red? I'd love to know because I'm very, very much drawn to this black blue. What's your experience with the ones that I shared? Do you have a Scarlet Esterbrook SD? I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful time with your journals and pens and inks, and yeah, goodbye.